Good evening and welcome to this Monday night edition of the Niall Fraser Show. The 27th of January already. January is absolutely cruising past. And what a broadcast we have for you this evening. We're starting off with Sir Queer Starmer, the drag queen edition. And then we've got Anatomy of a Fall. We're going to be talking about our good pal Hamza Youssef, the fall of the House of Yusuf. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Burns, and we'll be talking about the leaders across the world bashing the UK. And of course, at the very end of the show, we'll be picking up the papers and seeing what they've got to say. But first and foremost, we have to start the show with a bang, and that bang is the intro music. Thanks for joining us this evening. 50 people already. Before the intro music even kicks off, do me a favour, like the broadcast, share the broadcast. Here we go. Always gets you in the mood for a good show. That intro music, absolutely fantastic stuff. Right, welcome to the Niall Fraser Show, and what a lineup we have for you this morning. This evening, what am I talking about this morning? This evening, Monday nights, Niall Fraser Show, Sir Queer Starmer, Anatomy of a Fall, That's going to be a mammoth segment, that one. And leaders across the world bashing the UK and some sort of coordinated bashing. What is happening? What's happening? And of course, we'll be going through the papers at the end. Just a wee quick preview of the papers. That was last week, but it's a follow-up. We had the JFK X-Files. The JFK files have been released. 5 million files on the JFK release. Hard to swallow. This is the one we're going to be focusing on. This is a follow-up to last week. Absolutely insane stuff happening in the Scottish prison estate. Absolutely same mental stuff. And today's paper, proof the SNP does run government by talking shop. We'll be reading into all these papers, but first, our story of the day. Our main story of the day. Let's go. Who are we talking about? We are talking about Sir Keir Starmer. Sir Keir Starmer. Why? And guys, if you're just tuning in, 100 viewers, this is unacceptable stuff. Please do share the broadcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give it a like, get a comment in there. Less than 100 viewers. This is absolutely shocking. Generally, we get over 100 viewers before we even finish the intro music. Do me a favor, share the broadcast, get more people in here. Unacceptable stuff. I mean, I'm getting reports of people saying they have to search through my profile to get to the broadcast. It seems I'm getting buried. I'm getting buried in here. So, why is Keir Starmer doing this? This is a story of, this is the image that's went across the world, like 2.8 million views on Burns Night of all nights. Of all nights. This image needs no introduction. Sir Keir Starmer posing for Burns Night with a drag queen. With a drag queen. And, you know, you do want to be sharing this broadcast because I've got some exclusive information happening on the show tonight. Exclusive information about just how fetid the Scottish political scene, Scottish political media scene really is. Some exclusive info. But Scots have been celebrating Burns Night since 1801, 5 years after he died. 5 years after the national bard died. So why, of all things, why is Keir Starmer, why is he doing this? Is he rubbing our faces in it? He's deliberately mocking Scots here. He's deliberately mocking just our culture in general here. And it's a signal to this LGBT lobby, this trans lobby, this, anti-human, child indoctrination lobby. Absolutely shocking. He's rubbing our noses in it. In essence, taking a dump on Scottish traditions, tarnishing the memory and words and works of Burns by even appearing next to this drag queen here. And at first of all, he's not the only one that's targeting Burns. We had this story just a few months ago. Fury, as Robert Burns is axed from the higher English curriculum. And this is it's the Scottish exams. It says higher English curriculum, but it's higher English. If you know it. It's a bit different here in Scotland. We've got but it used to be standard grades highers, and I think they've just made it intermediates and all this sort of stuff. But it used to be a decent curriculum, but now it's just been absolutely tarnished. What's the curriculum for excellence, they call it. This is dreamed up by the lunatics in the SNP, and it's all anti-Scottish. It's anti-reality, of course, with the introduction of all this transgender ideology and LGBT ideology. And, John Swinney's famous Nutella and banana sex education. And a lot of people don't even understand that when it comes to the sex education here in Scotland, you might think, a couple of you guys in the comments, a couple of you guys in the broadcast in the gallery listening, you might think it's probably right. let we teach about gay sex and anal sex in our high schools, um, in our sex education. But, but, it, it's given equal billing. Equal billing, as in when you talk about normal heterosexual sex, you have to talk about it's a 50-50 parity between heterosexual sex and gay sex. That's what the Scottish curriculum says. Equal billing. When we know for certain that it's probably about 5% of the population is gay. Used to be. But with this equal billing, I would probably surmise that they're trying to make more LGBTQ people. Trying to manufacture them. Unnaturally so. Anyway, let's get back to the main story. Sir Queer Starmer. Why is he doing this? Is he in the pursuit of being the most unpopular person in the entire United Kingdom? Is it possible for him to get even more unpopular? I just don't see it. I just don't see how it's possible. I mean, who is advising this guy? Who brings, like, you know what we should need, what we need to bring for Rabbie Buns night? We can't have Buns night without a drag queen. It's just absolutely sickening to see our bard mocked and tarnished like this. You know what I mean? I'd rather that he didn't say anything about Buns night. I'd rather he said nothing. Rather he would say nothing. And of course, this is the man himself, Rabbie Buns. What a painting that is. Absolutely fantastic. Rabbie Buns. Mocked over 200 years later by this cretin that calls himself the Prime Minister. Absolutely shocking stuff. But this led me down a sort of rabbit hole. As usual. As usual, these things lead you down a rabbit hole. You think, why is he doing this? I mean, I'm not afraid to admit this, but I was wrong. I was wrong because I thought that this drag queen in question was an ex-SNP8. And I'll bring up the story so you can all see who I'm talking about. I thought it was this guy. This guy is called Nathan Sparling. Nathan Sparling, ex-HIV charity boss from Glasgow, to stand trial after charged with fraud. Oh, so it seems like a sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It seems like the done thing in the SNP to embezzle. To I mean, how many people is it now that's been done by fraud, embezzlement, and getting done with sex pestery in the SNP? Well, it's too many to mention, and I might do one big show, just going through everyone that's been done in the SNP with embezzlement, with fraud, having tried to touch people up. I mean, the sex pestery is off the Richter scale in the SNP, and why is it? And I've got some exclusive information about this Nathan Sparling. So Nathan Sparling, previously ex-chief executive of HIV Scotland, until December 2020, not too long ago when he quit. A fraud investigation was launched by Police Scotland in February 21 after a complaint. And here he is with his old boss. Angus Robertson. Don't they look all happy families, all hunky-dory, best pals? He used to run Angus Robertson's office in London. Hello? Hello? Alarm bells. I've got, ding, 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 ding. Alarm bells are ringing here, ladies and gentlemen. Former charity boss from Glasgow to stand trial next year, charged with fraud. Nathan Sparling, previously the chief executive of HIV Scotland until 2020, when he quit. His case was called at Edinburgh Sheriff Court last week. 33-year-old pled not guilty to a charge of embezzlement. Trial is due in May next year. Fraud and guest, blah, blah, blah. HIV, York Place, where all the seedy things seem to happen in Edinburgh and York Place. And then shortly after this, HIV Scotland closed. They've been supporting people with the condition for 30 years. And you may think, oh, aye, HIV Scotland, it's just for gay people. It's just for gay people that have caught HIV. Well, I mean, it helped a lot of people, addicts that have got HIV through, sharing needles and you know it, and what have you. But just shortly after this guy's been done with fraud, boom, it shuts after a 30-year. After 30 years and helping people with HIV. How very sad. But let's go down. Before it shut, HIV Scotland was receiving around £400,000 a year in funding from which included Scottish Government cash. Well, there's a surprise. Sparling became HIV Scotland's CEO in 2018 and left 2 years later before the fraud allegations came to light. Previously worked as an aide to SNP MSP Angus Robertson when he was the party's former Westminster leader. Oh, and in the past, Sparling has performed comedy gigs across Scotland as drag queen Nancy Clench, and just even saying that name makes you absolutely feel dirty inside. Dirty. Nancy Clench. It fills you with absolute dread. But what do we know about Nancy Clench? Well, this Nathan Sparling allegedly has been having parties in Edinburgh, parties in Glasgow, ketamine-fueled parties. And this is your exclusive. Allegedly. I'd love him to come on the show and tell us, no, I've not been having ketamine-fueled orgies in flats in Edinburgh and Glasgow. I've not been doing that. Come on and tell us you're not guilty of that, Nathan. And what was he up to when he was doing in Westminster with Angus Robertson? Oh, God knows. God knows what. But who is good pals with Nathan Sparling? Who is it? Can you guess in the comments? Can you guess? Well, look at this article. Oh, it's about me. Oh, and you might think, oh, you know what, Niall? You just bring up stories about yourself all the time. Well, actually, it's not me that's the story in this one. It's who is writing the story that is the issue here. Look at the name. Anna Roger. Best pals with Nathan Sparling. Oh, so do you get to see how seedy and how disgusting? And they used to go clubbing all the time, and you're just like, what are these people up to? And then this Hannah Rogers, what's she doing? She's doing LGBT workshops or whatever. How do you get your trans story in the press? She's done one in Edinburgh and Aberdeen or whatever. But isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how connected all these seedy folk are in Scotland? You know what I mean? Oh, and they just love writing about me. They just hate me. Well, I think they'll get their comeuppance one day. And can you imagine what the writer's room at the Daily Record must be like? It must be hell on earth. It must be like the snakiest of snake dens. The most venomous viper den. Like, just just a gaggle of the worst people in humanity. What's his name? Paul Hutchin. What a total loser he is. What a total gimp he is. What a piece of work he is. And Hannah Roger, just the same. Best pals with our man, Nathan Sparrowing, who's in turn connected to Angus Robertson. It's just a bit coincidental, just a bit seedy. You know, it starts to get a bit annoying after a while. But let's take it back to Sir Queer Starmer for a second. We'll share this tab. And you know, just the drag queen image, I don't know why. I don't know why the drag queen image done it for me. Well, it didn't do it for me in that way. But I mean, why did it make me think of Wardrobe Gate? Why is Keir Starmer allowing this guy to buy clothing for his wife? You know, a lot of people in the gallery watching right now, sitting at home, will be thinking, "Aye, if somebody bought, a dress for my wife, I would be, I'd be like, well, why are you doing that? Return it. You shouldn't be accepting clothes from this guy. I mean, why?" And it just got me thinking. It was all a bit queer. It was all just a bit queer indeed. There's something off about all this. And just going back to it, I mean, why do they do this? Why do they feel the need to do this? Are they looking into each other's eyes with longing? Are they very happy to see each other? Is there a connection there? I mean, I just don't feel right about Keir Starmer in this image. I just don't. Let's look at some of the comments on it as well. Because, I mean, 2.8 million views, guys. Absolutely insane stuff. Insane stuff. Let's look at some of the comments. For Women Scotland, organisation is absolutely stellar. What are they saying? What is the bloke in Women Face doing at a celebration of a man who wrote a poem called The Rights of Women? Spot on. While Europe's eye is fixed on mighty things, the fate of empires and the fall of kings, while quacks of state must each produce his plan, and even children lisp the rights of man. Amid this mighty fuss, just let me mention the rights of women merit some attention. Absolutely sensational comment. And again, invoking the Bard of Scotland, the national bard. Absolutely stellar comment. Let's just read that again. How good is that? I mean, you could read Burns over and over and over again and find more and more and more. While Europe's eye is fixed on mighty things, the fate of empires and the fall of kings, while quacks of state must each produce his plan, and even children lisp the rights of man. Amid this mighty fuss, let me mention the rights of women merit some attention. And isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Absolutely stellar comment. Let's look at more, because it's just unbelievable stuff. Are you taking the effing piss? The first photo does not represent my proud nation. What? And so I'll just give it a like. Right, live on the show, just boom. Why are you obsessed with transsexuals? Another like. Why is it? And of course, people posting Nathan Sparrowing. I mean, it's just, it's absolutely sickening. Absolutely sickening. Megan Burns here. Absolutely sickening stuff. So, why did it, I mean, why does it make me think of Wardrobe Gate? Because this isn't, dare I say, man behaviour. This, dare I say, isn't leadership behaviour. This isn't I'm the Prime Minister of Great Britain behaviour, is it? First of all, I want my picture taken with drag queens. Second of all, I want some guy paying for my wife's clothes. Just absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. But that's Sir Queer Starmer for you. That's Sir Queer Starmer for you. So we've looked into, naturally, I was wrong. Sorry, I get drag queens mistaken all the time. All the time I get them mistaken. So I think that concludes the Sir Queer Starmer segment. And we'll move briefly on to, I think this is even going to be a bigger segment because it's absolutely colossal, this story. It really is. And we're moving on to what I'm going to call Anatomy of a Fall. And you might, the film buffs out there may understand that that is the name of a film. It's not only the name of a film, it's the name of a very, very good film. An exceptional film, some may say. And if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go and see. But first, why am I calling it Anatomy of a Fall? Because, let's get that away. The fall of the House of Yusuf. The fall of the House of Yusuf. This is what we're going to be discussing for the next, I'd say, at least half an hour. I'm going to polish off my coffee there. Almost 300 viewers, guys. Thank you for tuning in. This is the segment on the fall of the House of Yusuf. And if you're watching on YouTube, give it a like. If you're not, then please do go after the show, go onto the YouTube channel, give it a like. You can find the link on my profile. We're trying to build the numbers on YouTube. We're trying to get the subscribers up. We're trying to do all the things. But first, let's get into the story. The fall of the House of Yusuf. And we're going to go quite deep on this. Forgive me. Forgive me, Yusuf. Forgive me, Hamza. But we're going to go quite deep on this. And who better to dissect the fall of the House of Yusuf than the person who called out Hamza Yusuf to his ugly face at his Fringe show? And we'll watch that one just ever so briefly.
All get told the same thing. By who? Oh, by usually, please don't take offence here, but usually by middle-aged, conservative white men.
Let's remove that for a second. Just before we watch the video, just listen to his comments at the start. This is why I had to stand up and say what I did. Listen to what he's saying. And I was waiting for the moment, and it was the perfect moment to strike. He's talking about white men, white conservative guys. Because we are. It just seems we are the easy target. Apparently, you can lay waste to white people in the press. You can be as racist towards white people as you want. You can be openly racist towards white people and get away with it. But if you say that, if you go anywhere near another direction, you will be branded. You will be called a bigot and racist and whatever. But I think those days are coming to an end. People are actually starting to say, I don't care. I don't care. But listen ever so closely to the first couple of sentences in this.
All get told the same thing. By who? Oh, by usually, please don't take offence here, but usually by middle-aged, conservative white men.
Excuse me, Hamza. A few days ago, you said we have to call out bigots and say F you. Didn't you not? Your white speech was the most bigoted thing Scotland has ever heard. So, on behalf of Scotland, fuck you. You're a pestilence on the land. You've thrown women and children under the bus. You're despicable. You should be behind bars.
There's good people here who pay money to listen to the show.
Pestilence on the land. And today I'm going to extend the pestilence on the land. Not just Hamza Yusuf himself, but his family. They are a pestilence on the land. And let's look at what his family have been up to, shall we? Let's look. And we've got some really bad stuff coming up here, guys. This is top stuff. Really bad. Let's start sharing this tab. Oh dear Lord. And we'll get this back up as well. Because I made this image on the fly. On the fly! I'm getting so good at making images. The fall of the house of Yusuf. And I credit myself with being, at least taking a sledgehammer to one of these bricks. At least. Plunge death. So it's important. It's very important that we understand that a man has died in all this. There's been somebody die. And we can get lost in the fact that it's Hamza Yusuf's brother-in-law that's been taken to court for selling drugs, being charged with extortion and drug selling. And we'll get the story. But it's important that we don't lose sight of the fact that a man has died here. All the things, all the news stories, it's always Hamza Yusuf's brother-in-law charged with drugs or whatever it is. But then it's like, but he's not been charged in connection with a man falling out a window. Falling out a window. And we'll go deeper into this. This is why it's called Anatomy of a Fall. Do you see what I've done there, ladies and gentlemen? Do you see what I've done? This is the point where you want to like and share the broadcast because it's going to get really hot really quick. Hamza Yusuf, brother-in-law, in court, accused of extorting a man who fell to his death from a window. So there's more to this fall, and we are going to examine the anatomy of the fall. And we see that in the picture there. This is 3 stories he's fell. And he's fell and he's died of his injuries on the pavement. So please, guys, do not lose sight of the fact that there's a man died in all this. Don't lose sight of that fact. Because there's a tragedy in here. The brother-in-law of former First Minister Hamza Yusuf is to stand trial after he was charged with extortion and the supply of Class A drugs. The supply of Class A drugs. We're talking about the former First Minister's brother-in-law. I mean, how useless is Yusuf? That he's the First Minister and what we're supposed to believe. We're supposed to believe that his brother-in-law is selling heroin and cocaine under his nose in Dundee, one of the most drug-afflicted cities in Scotland. And it gets worse and worse, ladies and gentlemen. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So are we supposed to believe that Hamza Yusuf didn't know about this? Was he supplying Hamza Yusuf? Because it would seem to me that the crackpots in the SNP, with their policies, with the way they act, with the disturbing nature of the way that they conduct themselves, the sex pestery, these weird sex orgies and parties that they're doing, does it seem to me that he could possibly have been supplying the First Minister himself? Well, to me, that is very, very, very plausible indeed. Very plausible. Ramsey El Nakwa, 37, pleaded not guilty via his legal team. Via his legal team. Because I bet you, and all the money in the world, that he's got one of the best legal teams on planet Earth. Because the Yusufs, they've got a lot of money. They've managed to scrape all their way up the greasy pole. Nadia El Nakwa's a councillor in Dundee. The First Minister gets a pension for life. He gets all that money for being the First Minister. They've got the best legal team on planet Earth. And I bet, let's get a picture of this guy. Let's get a picture of this guy. How much would you be willing to bet that that's his lawyer there? Right there, third along, second for the right. Amwar, what's his name? Amar Amwar. How much are you willing to bet that that's his lawyer? How much do you want to put on it? I've got a £10 in the wallet right now saying it's him. I mean, it's just got to be. It's just absolutely got to be. Surely. Anybody else in the comments want to take a bet that his lawyer is Amar Amwar, or however you pronounce his name? The guy is everywhere when it comes to race. Everywhere. So let's read let's read more of the story. But I guarantee you, this is the thing. Ramsey El Nakwa, and you'll see there's other people implicated in this crime. It's not just Ramsey. Of course it isn't. But I didn't hear any of the other people have got legal teams. It's just Ramsey El Nakwa, it seems, can afford the hotshot lawyers. Again, I smell a lot of shite here. I smell, just to quote Karen Dunbar, I smell shite. There's something really, really dodgy coming on in this case. So Ramsey El Nakwa, 37, pleaded not guilty via the legal team. It wasn't even there to the allegations during a hearing at the High Court today. And there he is there, with his face pixelated for some reason. Why? I don't know. He's no underage. Why? And there's the blocky flats. And as you can see, if you fell 3 stories up onto the cobbles, you're very unlikely to survive that. That is a fall of epic proportions. It really is. And again, don't lose sight of the fact that a man's died here. Don't lose sight of that fact. He plunged to his death from a blocky flats in Dundee. Dad of 2. So not only is it a man's died, it's a dad of 2. So we've got 2 children there that now have to suffer having no got a dad, their dad passing away. It's just, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. He sustained fatal head injuries when he fell 30 feet from the tenement block. Co-accused Stephen Stewart, 51, Jennifer Suter, 39, Victoria McGowan, 42, also faced charges on the same indictment, including the alleged culpable homicide of 36-year-old Ryan Munro. Ramsey El Nakwa is not accused of being involved in the death of Ryan Munro. Why is that? Why is that? Why is he being excluded for the death? Why? Let's read on. It is instead alleged El Nakwa, along with the other 3, with the intention of menacing Mr. Munro, did put him in a state of alarm that he would be harmed at a flat in Morgan Street. So they've been saying, if you don't do this, we are going to come up to your flat and do X, Y, Z. So he's not accused of being involved in the death of Ryan Munro, but it's alleged that he, along with the 3 others, with the intention of menacing Mr. Munro, did put him in a state of alarm that he would be harmed at a flat in Morgan Street. So how is he no being done with a culpable homicide? I don't understand it. Prosecutors claim they did intimidate the man and did extort a sum of money from him with threats. El Nakwa alone is separately accused of being concerned in the supply of cocaine in Dundee. We'll come back to that salient fact. Along with Stewart and McGowan, he faces similar charges in relation to heroin as well. Oh aye. Stewart, Suter and McGowan, meantime, are alleged to have killed Mr. Munro at the flat in Morgan Street on January 10th. It's claimed the man was intimidated and threatened, put in extreme fear and alarm, causing him to escape via a window at the property. So you've seen the flat. So let's just give me the hypothetical situation here. You have a group of menacing individuals, and by menacing, I mean full-on gangsters here. And they say, we're going to come up to that flat and we are going to kill you. If you don't give us the money, we are going to come up to that flat, we're going to torture you. Worse, we're going to do this, that, X, Y, Z. What would they have to say to you? All the viewers watching the now, what would they have to say to you in order for you to try and escape by jumping out the flat, 3 stories up? What would they have to tell you? What would they have to tell you they were going to do for you to want to jump, to take your chances jumping 3 stories, 30 feet? This is a gigantic crime, ladies and gentlemen, and it's just, we don't get the coverage. When it happened, it didn't get the coverage it required. But now that the courts have slowly trundled it out, we're now starting to get the information. We knew this was happening. But this is absolute. I mean, what? Tell me in the comments, what would they say to you that would make you want to jump out the window? Just absolutely insane stuff. So it's claimed the man was intimidated, threatened, and put in extreme fear and alarm, causing him to escape out the window. It is claimed. So, I mean, we don't know if this guy. Well, this is the thing. It's the anatomy of a fall. Was he pushed? Did he jump? The anatomy of a fall, ladies and gentlemen. And it is the fall of the house of Yusuf. Absolutely shocking stuff here. And, it's important to bring it right back into perspective. A dad of 2 has died here. We've got children who are now fatherless. Thanks to El Nakla and his group of people. Thanks to these people, Stephen Stewart, Jennifer Suter, Victoria McGowan. This is alleged to it says this is alleged to have seen him fall from a great height and hit the ground. Prosecutors state that Mr. Monroe was so severely hurt he died there. Stewart, Suter, and McGowan are also accused of a separate charge of abducting Mr. Monroe over the 2 days. Right, so it just you're starting to see this gangsterism happening. And this isn't small time gangsterism. This is people that are content. They are charged with supplying and concerned with the supply of cocaine in Dundee. Also heroin. These are no small time punters here. And they've abducted this guy in the 2 days that he's been in the flat, and he's tried to escape through the window, or he's been pushed out the window. This could be the trial of the century here in Scotland. And we just had the trial of the century, just happened today. 90 years plus or something, a gaggle of child abusing 6 satanic fucks have just been put behind bars for trying to shove a child into a microwave. They're trying to murder a child and just putting them in weird places, in a fridge, in a freezer, in a microwave. It just gets so fucked up here in Scotland, honestly. And most of it, if not all of it, is the drugs. It is the drugs. And you'll see, I mean, if you looked at the case that happened that was on STV all the day, this team of child abusing sickos, they were all hardcore addicts. They were all mega drug users. They were using heroin and crack cocaine around kids. Right, so this is alleged to have seen him fall from a height and hit the ground. It says this, I don't understand what it means. It's claimed the man was intimidating, threatened, putting extreme fear and alarm, causing him to escape through the window of the property. This is alleged to have seen him fall. That doesn't make any sense. This is alleged to have seen him fall from a height and hit the ground. Prosecutors state Mr. Monroe was so severely injured he died. He died right there. Stewart, Suter, and McGowan are also accused of a separate charge of abducting Mr. Monroe over the 2 days. So, what I could probably glean from this is that Stewart, Suter, and McGowan were in the flat over the 2 days, torturing the guy. And El Nacoa wasn't there. And that's why he isn't concerned in the death of this man. But maybe he's just smart enough not to be there. Let's read on. It just gets worse and worse, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got more additional stuff to this, the fall of the House of Yusuf. We've got more and more things to attach to this story. It's not just his brother-in-law. It's the whole family. It's the whole family. There's something not quite right about them all. There's something not quite right about the Yusufs. I've said before that we get rid of one inbred group of, we get rid of one inbred family, redneck family, the Murrells. We get rid of them, and in come the Yusufs, just to replace them. So these three people have been accused of a separate charge of abducting him over the 2 days. McGowan faces further drug accusations. Lawyers for Stewart, Suter, and McGowan also pleaded not guilty on their behalf today. Stewart and Suter have each lodged a special defence of incrimination. That's interesting. So 2 of them have lodged a special defence of incrimination. Interesting. None of the 4 accused appeared in court today. Advocate Depute Alex Prentice Casey is leading the prosecution in the case. I would look very carefully about the amount of pressure that is going to be put on this Alex Prentice. Because you can just imagine this judge is going to face pressure from all situations, all places, from all angles. The pressure is going to be applied to Casey Alex Prentice. Don't buckle to the pressure, Alex. The court hearings heard discussions are ongoing as to how the important evidence of a teenager will be taken. A teenager? See what I mean? This story just grows arms and legs. A trial was set and is scheduled to begin December 2025. This is how bloody crap our court system is. This is an absolutely gigantic case. So are these people being held in remand? Are these people that are accused, are they being held in remand? I absolutely doubt it. They'll be out. They'll be out to walk the streets. Can you believe this? Somebody tell me they're in on remand. Somebody, please. It could last 10 days. Lord Scott said the High Court in Dundee cannot accommodate the trial due to the number of accused, which is why it's fixed for Edinburgh, even though Dundee would have been preferable. A judge will be allocated for the trial at a later date. What's happening with the I mean, it's just one, our courts are too clogged. Our courts are absolutely chocked to the gunnels. And what effect does this have on Scotland? You know, because what happens when you are a judge and you're going on you're at Monday morning, you get picked up in the car. You get picked up in the car and you get driven to the courthouse. And you'll be reading the paper on the way there. And when you get to the court, you'll be given a letter. And that letter will say how many cells we have in Scotland vacant. And then you'll have to decide, well, actually, we can't put this person in prison because we don't have the cells. There aren't enough vacancies in Scotland. This is how bad it is. This is how bad it's gotten here in Scotland. We've got sentencing based on the availability of cells. That's how bad it is. It's just, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And Scotland is just an absolute minefield. It's an absolute shit show. Absolutely disgusting. But there's more attached to this. There's more attached to this, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely lots. Lots and lots, like jelly tots. So, again, don't lose sight of the fact that a man here, a dad, has died, leaving 2 kids fatherless. He's been, at best case scenario, he's been intimidated enough that he's tried to escape out a 3rd floor window, out of one of these windows up here, at the best case scenario, that he has been intimidated into jumping out the window. And at the worst case scenario, he's been pushed. That is the anatomy of a fall, ladies and gentlemen. But we've got more attached to this. Of course there is. How could we forget? Humza Yousaf's family, they tried to sue a nursery. This is just how disturbing this family is. And this plays into the fall of the house of the Yousafs. It's just absolutely, and look at this, the sad puppy faces on the, our kid was refused a nursery spot. It was because of racism. Well, actually, it was like an Indian, or the nursery was ran by Indians. And of course, what did they try to do? They tried to extort. They tried to steal £30,000 from a business by claiming racism. That's a business in itself, isn't it? It's the Yousaf business to extort businesses by claiming racism. And it's a tried and tested method right through the Yousaf dynasty. It's what they do. Humza Yousaf and his wife, Councillor El Nakla, claimed to have been told there was no space for their daughter at the Little Scholars at Broughty Ferry. The alleged applicants with white Scottish sounding names were excited, a claim the nursery denied. I mean, do you see how despicable this couple is? How despicable they must be. Look, and what did they do? Did they send in false applications with white Scottish sounding names to try to upset them? Well, that they must have. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting couple. Oh, and we'll get right into just how disgusting the couple actually is. Just when I said that, well, thank God we got rid of the Murrells. Thank God we got rid of the Murrells. Well, actually, it gets worse. It gets worse. Worse, ladies and gentlemen. Somehow, it gets worse. And this is a story that you may not have known. Oh, I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot, I swear. Oh, no. Oh, no, we'll have to find it a different way. We'll have to find it a different way. Don't you worry. Maybe they're on to me. Maybe they're on to me. Let's look at the bookmarks. We'll find it for you. Don't you worry. There's no way I'm going to let you no see this one, because this is the hot enchilada. This is the hot stuff. And let's get this one up. Let's start presenting this. Right. So, husband of Love Rat politician who reported SNP councillors' racist messages to wife is still awaiting a response 2 years later. Interesting. Oh, she looks familiar. She looks familiar. Granted, I think she's put on a few pounds, but she looks familiar. It is Nadia El Nakla. And who's this? Well, it's a guy called Craig Melville. And how could you imagine these two together? The guy in the middle being the husband of El Nakla at the time. Happily married. And she was having an affair with SNP councillor, I think, at the time, Craig Melville. And let's just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. It absolutely does. Husband who told SNP chiefs a councillor had racially abused his wife is still waiting a response 2 years later. ITS expert Faryad Umar suspected his wife Nadia El Nakla, she was having an affair, so he used computer software to examine her mobile phone history. This guy here. Let's get the IT expert on the go. And what did he find? Oh, you won't believe what he found, ladies and gentlemen. He uncovered the tryst with fellow SNP member Craig Melville. Oh dear God. It's a husband's worst nightmare. But also a string of vile racist texts the councillor allegedly sent to his wife. Wait, this doesn't make any sense. They're having an affair, and yet he's sending racist texts to her at the same time. Like that. What's going on here? What's going on here? And there she is, canvassing. SNP activist El Nakla. Ooh, was sent racist text by councillor Craig Melville. Faryad was giving evidence yesterday at Dundee Sheriff, where Melville was on trial over the offensive messages. The text to Nadia, an aide to Health Minister Shona Robinson. It just gets better and better. It gets better and better and better and better. And this is what I was alluding to it in the first section. The seediness, the interconnectivity of all these different people, and they're all in the seedy group of people here in Scotland. All connected, all working together, all working in tandem to shut down anyone or anything that could possibly upset them, could possibly upset the apple cart. So Nadia was an aide to Health Minister Shona Robinson. That's interesting. It included one describing a Muslim youth worker in Dundee as a horrible cunt, and another saying, "I just fucking hate your religion." Wait, so they're having an affair. They're having an affair. And he's saying, look, this Muslim youth worker's a horrible cunt, and I just fucking hate your religion. And yet they're having an affair? Is she getting turned on by this rhetoric? You see how weird these people are. The fall of the House of Yusuf, ladies and gentlemen. This is absolutely scintillating madness. It's absolute madness here. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And believe you me, we've got more. We've got more. We've almost done an hour on this. I'm sorry I'm running on too long about this, but you cannot, once you get it all, once you start piecing the bits together, you're like, how can this family have gotten to power in the first place? How could they have done it? I just fucking hate your religion. Craig Melville, former councillor. Faryad, 39, was so disgusted with the messages allegedly sent in 2015 that he emailed some of them to the local SNP office and other politicians in December of that year, complaining about his behaviour. And what you don't know, what isn't in the papers, is that this man, Faryad Umar, did not want to comment further. In fact, it is alleged and I'll use my words very cautiously here, it is alleged that people turned up at his door and said, if you don't drop this, we'll drop you. Similarly to this, if you don't drop this, we'll drop you. Are you starting to see what's happening here? Are you starting to see the Dundee Mafia, the USAF Mafia in action? It just gets so seedy, so disgusting. Initially, I was only thinking about the affair, but later I thought that someone in his elected position shouldn't have these views, so I sent them the MSP and his bosses. I hated the fact that she was cheating on me. But then actually, I thought, these are racist messages. I'm going to send them to his superiors. The messages were sent in an email to his bosses and so forth. After what I had discovered, I thought he may not be giving the community the best. I thought it was serious, so I left his bosses to investigate. Asked by prosecutor Joanne Smith what the party chief's reaction was, he added, no one has ever come back to me and said what was happening. I'm still waiting on an answer. Earlier, Farhad told the court he checked his wife's text message while she was sleeping because he thought she was having an affair. He quickly became suspicious of an apparent conversation she had with her best friend, Karen. You just know what's happening next. He said the language wasn't what Karen would use, so I checked the number with one I had on her phone, and they were different. They were different. Rumbled. Absolutely rumbled. And when I called the Karen on my wife's phone, a man answered. Ooh. I immediately hung up. Oh, Jesus. I immediately hung up and confronted Nadia, and she played down the relationship. I then used the data recovery software to download all her deleted messages and discovered the racist texts I found concerning. I didn't like the messages at all because in some he was referring to God. I wasn't happy with what I was reading. Listen to this. I didn't like the messages at all because in some he was referring to God. Didn't like that. Farhad said he downloaded the text onto a disk and was handed to police investigating an alleged allegation of the incident at the city mosque. A matter that was never brought to court. If it was suggested that you somehow manufactured or fabricated these messages, what would you say to that? I'd say that's a lie. Melville, 37, who resigned his post as Dundee City Councillor, was an aide to Stuart Hosey. The strings of attachment, they grow further and longer. Further and longer. Here we got some more comments on the YouTube. Please do, if you're watching on YouTube, get a comment in, like the broadcast, make sure you know, you let me know that you like what you're seeing. Let's go on. So he resigned as a post of Dundee City Councillor and aide to SNP MP Stuart Hosey over the allegation. It is alleged to have sent the text to Nadia on the 2 days after the 2015 Paris terror attacks. It just gets hotter and hotter. One text allegedly read, "It's not personal, I just fucking hate your religion and I'll do all in my life to defeat your filth." And these two were having an affair. Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? Hello? These people are absolutely mental. These people are absolutely insane. They're insane in the membrane. Absolutely crazy. And another text said, "And in your favour, we live in an uneducated, loopy left-wing society who is more interested in claiming benefits and being ignorant to the threat of your horrible disease, which is a make-believe something in the sky. Horrible, murdering, Islamic, so-and-so. And these people were having an affair. And they're sending texts to each other like this. Is she getting off on the fact that he hates Islam? This is crazy stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely crazy stuff. Another text said, and Muslim politicians in the UK have a duty to speak out and educate. See, this guy wasn't too far off, was he? He wasn't too far off. Our Craig Melville. That should be their number one priority, not staged photos taking refugees off boats and writing patronising message of support. So he's actually correct here. He's actually correct. Earlier, the court heard Nadia admitting the affair with Melville. She said she had deliberately changed his name on her phone to Karen to avoid suspicion as they were calling and texting each other so much. She said, I would delete the messages from Craig so my husband wouldn't see them. I had his name stored under Karen because he messaged all the time. My husband would be so suspicious because we messaged constantly throughout the day. I showed the racist text messages to a friend on the Monday who was also a friend of Craig's. I asked him, I know people get drunk, but is this a bit far or what? I felt the messages were a bit harsh, but people say and do things when they're drunk they don't actually mean. Blah, blah, blah. So this isn't the end, ladies and gentlemen. So we've had the fact. We've had the fact that the brother-in-law has now been charged. He's been charged with extortion and supply of Class A drugs. And may I add, it's in Dundee, one of the most most drug-plagued places in Scotland. And the brother-in-law is allegedly extorting people and supplying Class A drugs. This is just excellent stuff. Oh, we've had the fact that this family tried to extort, through legal means, £30,000 from a nursery. Another method of extortion, through fake racist libel. And then you get this bizarre article, absolutely bizarre article, where El Nadia, clearly a love rat politician, they're having an affair and he's sending anti-Islamic messages to El Nakwa and they maintain an affair. Absolutely astonishing stuff. But then, just as the cherry on top of this disgusting cake, the fall of the house of Yusuf. The cherry on top of all this information, on top, the brother-in-law dealing drugs, Nadia's brother dealing Class A drugs, concerned in the supply of Class A drugs, heroin and cocaine. El Nakwa herself was the City Council of Dundee's alcohol and drugs spokesperson. Just let that sink in. Let that sink in. Her brother was supplying heroin and cocaine, allegedly. He's been charged with it. He's been charged with supplying heroin and cocaine. Sorry, my computer froze up there. I thought I was going to lose the stream. Sorry, guys. I suppose I let that sink in just a bit too much there. but we can actually kill some of these tabs because they're actually destroying the processing power in my PC. Let's try to kill some tabs. Oh geez, oh geez, oh geez. We're lucky the stream is still active, guys. We are so lucky. We'll probably have to end it soon. It's so bad. Right. So, I mean, just let that sink in. After everything I've told you, after everything you know about the Yousafs, the fact that Hamza Yousaf himself is such a lunatic, such an idiot, that when confronted with refugees from the Ukraine war, women, actual refugees.
Okay.
So one question I have is, where are all the men?
Well, they're all dying. So that's Hamza Yousaf, the idiot's idiot. You've got him being the first minister. You've got the brother-in-law charged with dealing Class A drugs, heroin and cocaine, implicated in the death of a man in Dundee, a father of two. You've got the spurious lawsuit against the nursery. And then you've got the salient fact that in amongst all this, Nadia El Nakla was sitting on the city council as the alcohol and drugs spokesperson. It doesn't bear thinking about. It's so ridiculous, so ludicrous, so hypocritical that, you know, you think your brain's actually getting mashed thinking about how hypocritical this all is. Absolutely insane stuff. If you're just joining us, you've just missed the segment, The Fall of the House of Yousaf. But you can watch it back on YouTube. And if you're just tuning in on YouTube, get a like, get a subscribe, because we do Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays now. But we're off this segment now. I've spent ages on it. Too long, in fact. But this one's not going to go too long. This is just a compilation of some clips of leaders across the world bashing the UK. So let's watch them. First of all, let's go to the preamble. Since Trump took office, we have a whole host of world leaders that have been taking huge swipes at the UK and the UK government. Now, like how it's being run, you know, how badly our citizens are being treated, and they're pointing out the issues in British society. And I think that I believe they're trying to save Britain. I believe by pointing these things out, they are trying to save Britain by exposing the ugliness, by exposing the depravity, by exposing the abominable scum that have been destroying the UK, eroding and dismantling our history and culture, the forced diversity, the fake history, tearing down statues, all of this amalgam of decolonialisation, of this anti-white culture. That's what it is. And we've got world leaders right across the planet that are just exposing these types of things. And we've got a super bonus clip of Putin.
Is it not true that right now, as we speak, in the UK, citizens are being imprisoned for exposing horrifying crimes committed by Muslim migrants? Crimes that the government seeks to conceal? Or didn't the bureaucrats in Brussels suspend Romania's elections simply because they didn't like the party that had won? Faced with each of these discussions, wokeism's first strategy is to discredit those of us who challenge these things, first by labeling us and then by silencing us. If you're white, you must be a racist. If you're a man, you must be a misogynist or part of the patriarchy. If you're rich, you must be a cruel capitalist. If you're heterosexual, homosexual, you must be heteronormative, homophobic, or transphobic. For every challenge, they have a label. And then they try to suppress you by force or through legal means. Because beneath the rhetoric of diversity, democracy, and tolerance that they so often preach, what truly lies is their blatant desire to eliminate dissent, criticism, and ultimately freedom, so they can continue to uphold a model in which they're the main beneficiary.
What an amazing clip from Javier Milei of Argentina, who's just turned Argentina around. Argentina were heading for the rocks, and he's just turned the ship right around, and now it's absolutely flying. But I did miss a picture of our man Nathan Sparling from the drag queen at the first time. And look at this picture. Nathan Sparling is right there in as the drag queen. And who's that in front of him? It's Peter Tatchell. Yes, LGBT. Yes, LGBT. So again, sorry to sort of interrupt my segment there, but I was prompted as to the fact that I've missed a wee bit. Did I tell you how disgustingly connected all these people are? But who else is taking swipes at the UK? Well, it's the president of Belarus.
Normally in an election, the other candidates will be highly critical of the incumbent because they want to replace them. But here, of course, criticism of you, the president, is banned. So how is this a fair election?
Это у вас не просто критикуют власть, а поносят ее как хотят, и вы уже достукали.
I'll read it out for you.
Normally,
I can't read it out because I get muted every time. So there's subtitles there that you can read. Sorry.
normally in an election, the other candidates will be highly critical of the incumbent because they want to replace them. But here, of course, criticism of you, the president, is banned. So how is this a fair election?
Это у вас не просто критикуют власть, а поносят ее как хотят, и вы уже достукались до того, что вами уже недавно управлял индус. Я почему это говорю? Ну, когда я встречался с англичанами, говорю, ну вы, англичане, молодцы. Когда-то были империей, а сейчас ваши подопечные вами управляют. Странно. Для Великобритании они сказали, странно. Ну, а у нас вот странность, власть не критикует. Я никому ничего не запрещал. Не запрещал, прежде всего потому, что мне это не надо.
That's pretty excoriating from the president of Belarus. He said, Britain was once an empire, and now your subordinates are ruling you. You were most recently ruled by an Indian, he says. Just absolutely excoriating stuff here. And again, it plays into this decolonization narrative. Because that's what's happening to Britain. Our history is being dismantled. All the fake history. You've got all the BBC around, the BBC, you got all these historical dramas with the main people we've got in historical terms replaced by black people, and we're told that's the way it was. It's just nonsense. They're replacing our history. They're forcing diversity on us. They're tearing down our statues and our culture and telling us it's racist. It plays into the same stuff. And as the bonus clip for this evening, before I go into the papers, and the papers is like a follow-up in that story, the crazy story we had last week. But the follow-up, the bonus clip of this evening, listen to Putin talking about the Ukraine war in relation to the 2020 election in America.
If he had been the president, if the victory wasn't stolen from him in 2020, maybe the Ukrainian crisis that arose in 2022 would have never appeared.
So this was a clip that was seen on Twitter, and it had over 6 million views. Putin himself, he said maybe if the election in America wasn't stolen from Trump in 2020, that the Ukraine war would never have happened. Hello? Hello? Houston, we have a problem. Let's watch it again. Listen to this man's word. Do you think Putin doesn't know? Do you think the previous head of the KGB doesn't know what's happening in America? He knows exactly what's happening in America. And he knows that the 2020 election was stolen. And the American people knew it was stolen as well. The January 6th people, they've just been pardoned by Trump. But they were locked up in jail for almost 4 years, away from their families. The insurrection. You know, all the American politicians, it's an insurrection. Jail them for life. It's an insurrection. When you've seen policemen usher them in to the Capitol, opening the doors and saying, this way, this way. Let's listen to it again.
If he had been the president, if the victory wasn't stolen from him in 2020, maybe the Ukrainian crisis that arose in 2022 would have never appeared.
Just absolutely incredible words there. 16-second clip, seen almost 6 million times on Twitter. Absolutely incredible stuff. Right, guys, we're going to bash into the papers. I think we're going to go for another 10, 15 minutes maximum. Oh, that wasn't a red card, by the way. Absolutely wasn't a red card. I'll just tell you that now. Scottish Daily Mail today, proof that SNP does run government by talking shop. So we'll read through a wee bit of the paper and then we'll get to the follow-up of last week's story. The Mail investigation reveals a party has now launched almost 300 advisory groups on everything from plane lights to bee health. From Michael Blackley, Scottish political editor, who does some good work. Scotland is being run by hundreds of costly talking shops that achieve nothing. It has been claimed. SNP ministers have been accused of hiding behind almost 300 different advisory groups instead of taking action to solve the country's problems. The dizzying range of issues on which the group provide advice includes bee health, aviation lighting, and dangerous dogs. Only a week ago, 2 new advisory groups were announced on social care and protecting children from online harm. But critics say that while time and money has been squandered on talking shops, ministers fail to take any decisive action. Scottish Conservative Deputy Leader Rachel Hamilton said the SNP ministers' addiction to setting up talking shops and task forces seems to be showing no sign of stopping. She said the public are sick and tired of the nationalists doing the easy thing on so many, and we'll continue on page 2. On so many issues, rather than finally taking action, taxpayers' money has been squandered all the time on SNP talking shops, which achieve nothing, while at the same time Scots are paying the highest taxes in the UK and public services are worsening. A list of Scottish Government's website shows there are currently 284 active groups advising ministers. They often bring together government officials, quangos, charities, industry groups, and public sector organisations and cover most of the main ministerial remits, including the economy, health, transport, justice, and social justice. The Bee Health Improvement Partnership aims to achieve a healthy and sustainable population of honeybees in Scotland and is made up of animal health officials, beekeepers, and Scotland's Rural College. The Aviation Lighting Guidance Working Group was established in August 2021 to provide advice on lighting for onshore wind turbine operators. Other groups to meet regularly, include the New Deal for Business Group. It was set up to improve working relations, including a wide range of private sector trade bodies, although many of them have been heavily critical of elements of the SNP budget. The Dangerous Dog Act, short life working group, was established following the 2021 programme for government to inform policy on tackling irresponsible dog ownership. Ministers also established a minimum income guarantee steering group. Documents previously revealed government officials believe it would cost $12.3 billion a year if a citizen's basic income was set up at 11,500 for pensioners, 9,000 for adults, and 4,600 for children. So we've got an advisory group talking about a minimum income guarantee, which is, of course, universal basic income, which is, of course, communism. Social Justice Secretary Shirley-Ann Somerville recently told MSPs the proposals could very well come with significant price tags. Last Thursday, ministers announced they were dropping plans for a national care service. The first announcement in the SNP's manifesto for 2021 Holyrood elections, but Social Care Minister Mary Todd said a National Care Service Advisory Board will be established with the first meeting in March. Children's Minister Natalie Dawn Innes was also mocked last week when she responded to the Scottish Conservative debate calling for urgent action on school safety. She announced the setting up of a new advisory task force to identify what more can be done within the limits of devolution to protect children and young people from online harm. A government spokesperson said advisory groups provide expertise, understanding, and people's lived experience and independent analysis on a wide range of issues that support Scottish Government priorities. What a load of shite. And let's read through some of these talking shops, a list of talking shops. We've got the Bee Health Improvement Partnership. We've got Bracken, Scotland's Working Group, Dangerous Dog Acts, Short Life Working Group, Equally Safe in College and Universities Core Leadership Group, European Friends of Scotland, Ferguson Marine Hull 801 Acceptance Group, Gender Equality Task Force in Education and Learning, Gypsy Travellers Action Plan, Ministerial Oversight Group, Human Rights Bill Lived Experience Board, Mobile Messaging Apps Use Review, National Gender Identity Healthcare Reference Group, National Goose Forum, National Goose Forum, Pelvic Floor Registry Implementation Group, Scottish Milk and Healthy Snack Scheme Implementation and Operation Group, Single-Use Disposable Cups Charge Advisory Group. It just makes, honestly, these folk, government by talking shop. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. And what I would say, just with Trump coming in the last few days, he has acted like an actual leader. And this is what we need. We don't need talking shops. A leader leads. We don't need talking shops. And, you know, they're talking about, there was a bit in there. Children's Minister Natalie Dawn Innes was mocked last week when she responded to Scottish Conservative debate calling for urgent action on school safety. And she announced the setting up of a new advisory group task force to identify what more can be done within the remits of devolution. I'll tell you what can be done for the school safety. They can ban mobile phones unilaterally at all school campuses. And if they can't ban them at school, they can make them defunct. They can make them inoperable. I've long since said, I think I might even have the video to play. I've got, I think we'll play it. But I said it at the Scottish Family Party Conference, and this will be coming up on 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And I said it was the era-defining policy of our time. You feel the digital cage coming in. You've got, you know, influencers on social media, and Shawnee Boy is a great example. If a lot of people are watching here, we've got Shawnee Boy. We've got this comedian, this comedian that's trying to make his way in Scottish politics, and he makes some good content, so he does. But recently, you know, he puts these tweets out saying, oh, "What's the point? Social media addiction, social media this, I hate social media. You know, it's awful. It's ruining my life." And I offered to come on the show and help him. And to get, you know, no responsive. But that's all right, Shawnee. I get it. But what is the you know, the thing is, you, me, everyone watching the now, almost 500 viewers, guys. Thank you. We as adults know and feel the pull of social media. We feel the dopamine hits. I felt it myself. And it's one of these things. See, when you make a viral video and I've had lots. When you have a viral video, your phone goes ding, 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 and it's honestly, it's like your phone is on fire for a day or so, and you know, it gets to you. It gets to you. You think, I'm the king of the world. You think, you know what I mean? It's one of these things that it starts having an effect on yourself, and how, you know, this is as adults, ladies and gentlemen. This is as adults. Now take it in another way. What are people? We know it's affecting us as adults. So why are we allowing children under the age of 16 access to social media and take their phones to school? And they make these clips, and you know, it's worse than drugs, I believe. It is. So you know, if I was First Minister tomorrow, I would be banning all phones, smartphones from schools, including all the teachers. All phones would be inoperable, banned from school campuses, unilaterally. And I'll play the video that I made at the conference. I hope that it's around the issue of phones, but I'm sure it is.
You know, of all the problems facing us today, whether it be the rampant corruption in our government, the issues that mass immigration bring, or the sick trans ideology that is pumped into our schools, it's my contention that all this laundry list of issues, the easiest one to defeat, the simplest one to defeat, is the lie that a person can change sex. I mean, I'm going to point to this sign over there, but that sign done all the heavy lifting for me this election. A man can't become a woman. Simple. What a sign that is. Credit to Richard. If we can try and defeat this lie by the ballot box, that's what I was trying to do. If you think about it, you don't even need to be able to read or write to understand what a man is and what a woman is. It's simple, it's intrinsic, it's biological, it's inbuilt into us. That's why it's the easiest to defeat. So with this in mind, it maybe explains why I was making it the whole campaign about defeating this lie that a person can change sex, a campaign to destroy the trans ideology via the ballot box. And armed with this strategy and a plethora of placards from Richard's garage, we took to the streets of Rutherglen day by day, week by week, to send our message to the constituents. A man can't become a woman. Simple. This placard, this simple, salient message of truth, was somehow triggering passers-by. And there would be supporters in this crowd today that have noticed that and that would have witnessed it personally. Triggering people into calling us names. Triggering people into throwing our leaflets back at us. Triggering people into spitting at us, if you can believe it. So naturally, we tripled the number of signs. So we had one facing the opposite sides of the street and the road. We doubled down and tripled down because that's what we do. You know, a woman actually came up to me in the street and called me a misogynist because of the sign. I said, why? Where's your sign that says a woman can't become a man? Simple. It reads the same.
Sorry, I mean, that same speech, I've not got the entire clip, but if you can look it up, Niall Fraser from Scottish Family Party conference speech or whatever. But the whole speech was leading to my policy idea. And the policy idea was, and it was, I described it as an era-defining policy because it really is. In order to maintain the sanctity of a child's innocence, to reduce the violence in schools, to increase teacher retention, to decrease the attacks in schools, the attacks on teachers, and just to stop the distraction. I mean, how can you teach a class when you've got all these distractions, these rings, dings, and vibrations? It's impossible. So it was my idea. We need to, you know what? We need to ban phones from all school campuses as a matter of urgency. And I just played that clip there. I thought it was the same one, but in fact, it was me talking about the sign. The infamous a man can't become a woman sign. Infamous. But that was, I just thought I'd play it because it was quite funny. Right, guys, we've got the last paper of this evening before we finish up. Hard to swallow. And we've got a wee rip in the paper there, but this is actually, it's a follow-up to the other one. Killer's jail sex room. You can see it's the same picture. The same picture they've used. Hard to swallow. This last one was about HMP Greenock, where we've got trans people. We've got men pretending to be women in the HMP Greenock. And the other convicts, the other inmates, they don't like that very much. And in fact, they're getting taken to court. The inmates are getting taken to court for calling them Tranny and the Beast. and suggesting that at the Christmas karaoke that they should sing Shania Twain's Man, I Feel Like a Woman. And they're taking this from the jail to the court in a colossal waste of taxpayers' expense and court time and all this and the other. And when actually, in actuality, this man should not be in the women's prison estate at all. But he is. And then we've got this follow-up. Hard to swallow. And it's another doozy. Transgender killer gets out of prison for cosmetic surgery. Campaigners' anger after the con has Adam's apple reduced. A trans killer was allowed to leave prison for cosmetic surgery to make them look more like a woman. Alex Stewart was escorted to hospital for a non-essential Adam's apple reduction operation costing thousands of pounds. So, you wonder, I can't get an appointment. My granny can't get an appointment to get her car acts done. My granddad can't get an appointment to see, his GP, this, that, and other for, these minor surgeries. We're 11 convicts for day release. Day release. They come out of prison. We've got male inmates in female jails taken out, escorted to hospital for non-essential Adam's apple reduction surgery. Scotland isn't a serious place, ladies and gentlemen. This is just lays credence to that fact. Thank you, Nicola Sturgeon. Thank you, SNP, for landing us with sick, twisted gender ideology. Thank you. Escorted to hospital for non-essential Adam's apple reduction surgery, costing thousands of pounds. Susan Smith of Campaign Group for Women Scotland. There they are again. Stellar group. We doubt that a female murderer would be allowed day release for a Botox or a nose job. Oh, page 5. And right alongside it, we got this. For dog's sake, castract cops kill hero hound because they won't pay for the 12k op. So right next door, and it's not a coincidence to put this next to each other. We are paying thousands of pounds for this man to have his Adam's apple shaved, but we can't pay to save a dog. Right, where to begin on this? A transgender murderer was escorted out of prison to £1,000 worth of cosmetic surgery. Alex Stewart of Bonhill, Dumbartonshire, has admitted having an Adam's apple reduction operation to look more feminine while behind bars at Greenock Prison. Told you, the 36-year-old born male Alan Baker changed gender in 2016 after being jailed 3 years earlier for murdering dad of 2, John Weir. So, a murderer murders a man called John Weir, all of a sudden, oh, yeah, I'm female. Oh, well, I suppose we better put you in a female jail in that case, Alex. Scotland isn't a serious place. 6 years into their life term at 2019, their surgery request was approved. Sources have said surgery took place at taxpayers' expense on the NHS, but the Scottish Prison Service has refused to confirm details. Susan Smith, the forewoman in Scotland, said, "We are disturbed to learn a dangerous prisoner is allowed to seek unnecessary cosmetic surgery. We doubt that a female murderer would be allowed day release for Botox or a nose job. How was this funded, and at what total cost to the taxpayer? At a time when resources are stretched, both prison and health services this looks like a profligate indulgence of a manipulative man." Absolutely spot on, Susan. We can't help suspecting it was a way to prove his trans identity without going too far. Exactly. Without actually cutting your dick and balls off. I'll just get my Adam's apple shaved. Also known as a tracheal shave. The procedure reduces the prominence of an Adam's apple in the neck and is an aesthetic operation. In a court hearing last week, Stewart said they'd have the surgery, revealing, "I have undergone a tracheal shave in 2019. Scottish Conservative Shadow Equalities Minister Tess White said taxpayers will be outraged if it emerged that public money was used to fund cosmetic surgery for a convicted murderer. Tracheal shave falls under gender-affirming surgery and the NHS would pay. Referrals for gender-affirming surgery are processed on behalf of NHS Scotland by the Gender Dysphoria National Reference Support Group." What a mouthful that is. Operated by NHS England. The closest centres to HMP Greenock are based in Newcastle, more than 170 miles away, or in Nottingham, 300 miles away, an 11-hour round trip. Convicted prisoners such as Stewart would also be required to be accompanied by staff and transferred by Prison Transport Service GeoAmy. Stewart's other option would be to spend $7,000 to have a private operation. Details of the operation emerged during a sheriff-led trial at Greenock Sheriff Court last week, where Stewart and child killer lover Naomi Fee, who were in a relationship, claimed to have been subjected to a 4-year hate campaign in jail by a fellow inmate. So this is the situation we've got in Scotland. We've got a convicted murderer who murdered John Weir, dad of 2, who is got the spark up a prison relationship with a child killer, Naomi Fee. They're in a relationship, the tranny and the beast. And because they're being subjected to abuse, they're getting called names in prison, it goes to court. Are you serious? Tell me, we do not have a serious country here in Scotland. Not at all. Not at all. We've got a child killer and a convicted murderer shacking up together in prison. Somebody says, maybe you should sing Shania Twain's "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" at the prison karaoke. And that abuse is then taken to court, wasting more time in our judicial services. It's just madness. Absolute madness. And it needs to end. I mean, is there no end to the madness? And I think that concludes the papers for this evening. You get the drift. And I think maybe what we'll do on the Wednesday, there's 5 million JFK files being released. 5 million. So what I might have to do is sift through the JFK files and find the nuggets for you guys on Wednesday. But I'm sure there'll be more news crop up between now and Wednesday. But guys, it's been a spirited evening. We've been going for almost 2 hours. Again, 500 viewers tuning in. Thank you ever so much for joining us on this Monday night. And, you know, I can't thank you enough. If you could do me a favour, give the video a like and a share. Make sure other people are watching it. If you've enjoyed what you're watching, if you haven't enjoyed what you're watching, then don't give it a like and a share. But if you could, that would be excellent. And, you know, I'm trying to pump the YouTube numbers, so do give it a like on YouTube if you're watching from there. I really do appreciate it. Other than that, guys, there's nothing left for me to say other than you have yourself a fantastic evening, I hope you're up bright and early tomorrow, you know, going to seize the day. But before we go, we must play our fantastic outro video. So guys, thank you ever so much for joining us on this Monday night. January is almost over. We're almost into Feb. But other than that, guys, I hate ending shows. I really, you know, I can just ramble on and on and on. But, you know, we've had Sir Queer Starmer, we've had the Anatomy of a Fall, and we've seen the leaders bashing the UK over and over again, quite rightly so. So, guys, thank you ever so much for watching. It's been a spirited evening. All we have left to say is God bless you, good night, and I'll see you again Wednesday, 9 p.m. So, good night from me. Goodbye.